picketing for the wrong thing. We're picketing for our own salaries. We're picketing for our own, our own financial stability, right? But we don't actually tend to the reason why we're put in the positions or the places that we're put in, right?
That's right.
And that's the concern, right, for me as a standpoint. Now, to actually, you just came in. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I sit on NCOBRA. I'm NCOBRA's treasurer. I will soon be the interim co-chair here in maybe a matter of a year or two. But to say the least, I'm on the forefront of trying to actually curve our educational institution. I want our educational institutions to provide our high school kids some type of actual trade like they used to, right? We
That's
couldn't
right.
actually those trades couldn't be afforded to our black community, and they were only put in certain schools to say that they were trade schools, right? And then
Yes. Yes.
even states outside of that to say, oh well, if you do not attend this school, you can't go to this school, or if
Yes.
you actually attend this school, you can't actually be a part of another program at the same time, right? That
Right.
should be a limitation to cut that off all the way around the board. And
Whoa,
a
whoa,
school,
I want to ask something about that. I'm over here in Grand Crossing and I see these contractors come over because there's a lot of properties over here, homes, uh, residential tenements, that, they're rebuilding and putting back together. But I don't see anybody, working, any contractors who look like, anybody on this live. Okay.
Mhm.
The only time I see somebody was saying something. The only time I see any black people working is they work with Streets and Sands picking up the garbage out the alley. I mean, I think we can do a little bit more than that. And I
yeah,
guarantee you, these contractors that I see in our community, they from the other side of town. Over
Mhm.
there in the Latino area and stuff. And I guarantee you, they ain't got no schools over there where they're being trained and acclimated to get up on these jobs. No, what needs to be done is we need to be able to pitching a B over there at City Hall and demanding that the mayor, who looks just like people on this live, and have those aldermen demand that so many black people be working in this here community, rebuilding these properties, and they're getting on the job training. They ain't going to no schools to learn
Well,
how to
but
put up.
that's
I
what I was
want
about
to
to
move
say.
back to
That
this.
may not be true. Luanza, that
Yeah, I
may
was gonna
not be
say that.
true. There
Right.
is there is a program out there. Dennis Muhammad has some programs out there. The other guy, Carl Livingston or
I never
Livingston.
said that there weren't any
No,
programs
no, no.
that black
But
people
I'm
have.
saying they have a lot of properties in that community where you are, and they went in and they're doing that themselves. That has nothing to do with the city of
I mean,
Chicago or Cook County.
do you live in Grand Crossing
I'm
or
telling
Chatham?
you what happened with the property
Oh, okay,
because I
okay.
know
Well,
about
I
someone
understand what
who
you're saying, but you
secured a
know,
lot of property over there, and he's lily white. And
well,
he did it
anyway,
though. I will say what he did do, he did it through the black alderman. But about that much I can tell you that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can
Thank you
tell
very
you some
much,
more
sister,
of
for
them that
bringing
did
that
the
up.
same doggone thing. I
Thank
will
you
tell
very
you that
much for
much.
telling us that.
Yeah,
That's the
that's how they
reason.
got him. Yep.
That's
That's why I'm
how I
letting you
said.
know.
Thank you
That's
very much
private.
for
That's
answering that.
privately
You see
owned.
what
But
y'all are doing.
the aldermen flipped on the community. Many of them did it. Many of them did it.
Thank you for telling us that.
Many of them. And then when they come and have their ward nights, and what they do is they give them come in because how they pay them with one of their private checks or one of their business checks. There are other people don't see it, but as they come in and when they're having a meeting, so they don't pay it all at one time because Gray Shovel got a lot of them arrested, and some of them that got arrested shouldn't have been arrested because there was some other ones that was taking bigger pieces of the pies who ain't served a day. And one of them, he cried his way out of going to jail. He cried so much that they didn't even prosecute him. And I was
Mm.
surprised nobody else flipped the strip over that. But many of them did that, and that continues to go on now,
I need to
especially
ask
for
you
those
something.
aldermen that left those offices. They just gave
Uh-huh.
it to private investors because those private investors gave them money.
Yeah,
And they do it all the time.
that's what I was gonna get to. That's where I was gonna eventually lead to. The
So yeah,
reality,
clearly,
well, yeah,
I
yeah, I see
clearly,
what you're
I
doing.
clearly, I clearly see what you guys is pointing out here. The fact that remains here that we
See that
actually
all the
are
time.
here to come together to find a solution to our common
Here,
problem.
here, here,
At
Here,
the end of the
here.
day, Sister Sheila, Sister Wanda, Sister Sandra, my hat goes off to
Always
you in the
cut me
positions that
off.
you played
So do you
here
have to
in our
fill up
communities as
another?
raising our children. I want to go back to point out that I want to actually see us structure a sound. If you have, Sister Sheila, if you have teachers that you're teaching and making teachers, I would want those teachers to be a part of their own school. I would want them to have their own 501c3 so that they could be able to open their own school walking out of your programs. I
So
would want
let
to
me
ask
actually, wait a minute. Tell me your name again.
Brother Jordan.
Brother Jordan. Let me just tell you, one of the schools that I'm working with in Tennessee, she actually has that. It's a Christian school. And
Yes.
she has actually, she hired me I did 6 professional developments for her. So now she's trying to get me to come on as an administrator. I said, no, 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 no. I'm going to continue to support you with consulting. And that's not, those days are over. I did
Yes.
34 years total. So I want to make a difference in lots of different schools. So I love what you're saying.
Yes.
And that's why this woman is so important that I work with her, because she actually gave me my first try at my business working with her and her teachers. And they're doing really well. And it's a private school. She has her
Now,
own, she's building, she just bought a lot of land. So she's expanding on her school. But
now
I
the
would
second
love
piece,
the future. Yes.
now the second piece I would want to see that, and I'm
Okay.
hoping that you be able to help me with this because this is where I'm
Okay.
at the particular moment is being able to get into these schools and provide grants to our own children to provide them to actually be able to have at least a 2 year actual challenge or actual be able to be going to a college for 2 years without them actually having to think about having the debate about going there. Financial aid
Yes.
shouldn't be the actual only idea in our actual educational system that
Mhm.
allows people to go to school for 2 years without paying any money and then drop out. Right? I believe that they should be afforded the 2 years and then be able to apply for social. I'm sorry for a financial aid and then have a 4 year degree without actually paying for that. So the first 2 years, I want to be able to be that one organization that provides any child the opportunity to actually be able to go into a school or college for that matter and be able to have a successful associate's degree in some type of actual field on top of actually probably finding some trade or being a part of some type of trade school at the same time. So now you not only are you in high school getting a trade, coming out of school, then you actually getting into college so that you could be able to have a business profession.
Yes.
My professional goal and my capacity right now is to help our children be able to have from high school the ability to be able to have some type of trade in place for them for their
Yes.
actual financial future, right? We could sit here and talk about what we've the past. We could sit here and talk about what was not what's going on and not actually being effective. But the fact of the matter is, I am planning for the future that is at hand for our own children. And at the end of the day, if we don't have that in mind, forget about any politician and what he has on his agenda. It's still about infrastructure. And that's what we're sitting here to talk about right now. How can we attack the infrastructure and be able to implement a plan that actually helps our communities? Being
Yes.
able to actually have your teachers be able to be hand in hand powered to open their own schools. That's a great idea. Giving children the ability to actually have a scholarship to go and actually go to college. That's an actual tool to attack
That's
infrastructure. These are the
that's
things I'm actually focusing on or want to be focused on with you guys. Sister Sandra, I actually love the position that you've played and all that you have. And I'm hoping that you actually could be able to actually facilitate the structure that needs to be there, that you've actually have already been in a position to do over the years.
yes.
I applaud,
So
I
you
applaud, I applaud your expertise and knowing that what these people do. And I'm gonna continue to say I might people might say I'm racist as hell. I am because I don't like white people. Why? As the fact that I come from a family. I had a great grandmother that'll tell me about
Well,
picking
you a
cotton.
black
And,
man. A black man in
oh, oh,
America can't be no racist, man.
that's right.
well,
You
watch
can't
this
be
though. I
racist.
have a great grandmother that actually will tell you
Impossible.
about picking cotton. She actually raised 9 children on her back to actually pick cotton, and then one of her children died and turned around and left her 7 children, which is my own mother and her own sisters and brothers, right? And I'll tell you right now, her own brother at that time in 1953, he was born, and he went and served in a military service, a branch of government, and was hurt in basic training. Now they call it Army Reserve. Well, basic training at the time, he got hurt, and do you think they give him any type of money? No, they don't. I'm actually fighting.
Hold on.
I'm actually fighting right now for my own uncle who shouldn't have been in a war to be drafted in the first place, to actually say he's 80 some years old and actually say, oh, he was born in that time, his mama died, and so he was drafted in a war that he shouldn't have been in and don't get the benefit. And watch this. He speaks German. He was in a German war.
We need to change. We need to get back to the reason why you was admiring her. You all call it infrastructure. I call it resources. So, but the bottom line is, even if whatever it is that you're doing, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing with the piece, with the money, the educating your children, etc. My relationship with what you're doing is, where are they going to work? What kind of companies are they going to open up? And you and I have got to figure out how to play money, so we don't have to go nowhere else to get the money. Because when you send that kid off with whatever degree you have given them, so far we're sending them to somebody else's place to work. So you and I got to have a dialogue on how to follow the money on everything we touch to keep our peace. And when you're talking to the program that you all are putting together, we need to find out how much of that same program is going to other ethnicities, and where is our piece, and is it proportionate, so that we can continually grow our market.
Well, Sandra kind of touched on
no, but I mean, I'm familiar with Sandra's project as well, because my cousin,
same kind of thing. Said that.
But see, because I'm the 88 that y'all talking about, so some of the stuff you're talking about I've been exposed to, so I know what you're saying. So I'm not trying to be all knowing, but you're not saying nothing that I don't know. So what I'm trying to get you to see is that let's go to the next level and fix this. So it's about the money. Somebody agreed that it was about the money. So even when you're talking about the war, we fight the war not because we're trying to do anything other than get money. The United States, I know most of us is glad we live in the United States, but the reason they fight over these, wherever they are, even in Israel, is about the money. So you and I got to figure out, our politicians, we send them to the table to find out where the money is. And if you don't like what's going on, then if we get in our proportionate share of the money, then your lane, you can help change it.
Okay, well, I've heard all this talk, but the point I want to make.
You heard all my stuff.
Yeah. I've heard what you said. Let me say something. Black people in their respective automatic communities or congressional or state general assembly. Yeah, we are responsible for putting in the ballot, like people did on Super Tuesday, in putting these people into a political seat. However, once they get in that seat, what really manages their actions is the money that is being given to them to pass these political measures or bills. She said something about owners over here put money in the pockets of,
have you ever been a politician? Have you ever been a politician?
I'm making a comment. I didn't jump in while you were talking.
Yeah, you did. You told me you heard it.
Okay, well, you're serving as a distraction, and that's
no.
Not
you told me you heard
the
me already.
I'm not going to respond to him anymore. But the point, yeah.
Make your statement, and then.
Okay, yeah, he won't let me because he keeps cutting off.
But so you told me you heard me.
I don't want to talk to you. The point that I want to make is this: we, after having these guys elected and paying and putting votes for, you're not going to you can't manage these politicians by just putting putting them in at the ballot. At some point, you have to make them accountable to pass measures and political bills, okay, that are related to the type of economic activity going on in your community. The biggest thing is, real estate and businesses. And so we need to uh pay these give them money to do these sort of things. And so when you give them money to pass political measures or bills, then they're going to be accountable to you because it's all about money because you live in a capitalist democracy and it means absolutely nothing if you're not going to put forth money to move these guys to pass bills because see revenue comes into the coffers of the city, it comes into the coffers of the state in a general assembly. I used to work down there. And so we want them to take those monies that come in as taxes and give back to our individual communities. And we can only do that by forcing their hand. We pay you money to do what you're doing, and then you're in turn are going to be accountable to us because you're not going to get any accountability if you're not paying them.
All
Because
right,
that's what everybody else is doing.
let's end this conversation. We're way over, and keep in mind that when we come
Very
back
rude.
next Wednesday,
Wanda, I'm sorry, excuse me, before you close out, can you share what I just sent with you in the chat so they can have it? Or do you, because I was trying to post it, but I'm trying to get it from my phone to the iPad
you
and
got
I'm
it.
answering other people on texts. I'm sorry.
You said you got it in
Can
the
you share that with them? And they can
chat.
copy it if they want.
Is it in the chat?
No, I sent it to you on your phone.
Oh, okay.
You don't have yours linked
Oh, no,
either?
no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
So you sent something in.
Sister
Tell
Morris,
us what you're saying. Tell us what you're saying.
Sister Morris, if you have an email, if you can put it in the chat for me, it'd be great. I really appreciate it.
Well, you
Sure.
see my email up there.
Sure.
Just get it. I'll put it in there.
Yeah, Brother Lawanza, yeah, definitely. I would definitely want your email as well. Sister Sandra, your email would be great for me. I can send you over. Hopefully I would actually, our next Zoom, if we all come together, I don't know if you all know who Roland Burrows is. I think
Of
I've shared
course.
my PowerPoint presentation.
I know him very, very, very well.
I think you were here. I think you were here before, Sister Sandra. I actually shared my PowerPoint presentation on. I don't know if I did, but even to say least, I have my reparations PowerPoint as well, and I want to share that with you guys so that we got some type of structure that we can build together. I'm in a network of other grant writers. I have a team of 5 grant writers myself, but I'm in a network where I'm actually wanting to see our people be able to be a part of the grant process, right? I want our people to be able to be part of actually building foundations and nonprofits to be successful for people.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan. Wanda, I wanted you to send it to them so they can get it out the chat. I don't want you to show it.
Okay.
Let them see it if they want to see it. Get it where they can copy the link themselves. Put the link in the chat, dear heart.
All right, dear. I shall do.
Thank you, hon. I know. I didn't want you to struggle like that. I'm sorry.
Do you do grants for other people? Do you charge for grant writing?
Every person that I know charges to actually do grant writing. Yes.
Okay, thank you. You answered my question. I'll help pass on your information. Young lady, why don't you tell us what you sent for Wanda to post?
I actually got this. This was sent to me by another politician a minute ago. And he even called me and said, look what this fool was doing. So I didn't want her to show the thing because I got to get off the line.
Okay.
And you guys got to get off the line. I just wanted her to put it in the chat.
I'll put it in the
chat.
chat.
The Zoom chat, and you guys could have copied the link yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll put it in the chat and I will send the chat to each of you. So
yeah, I'm in the process of doing that.
Okay, so everybody.
I put my personal email there in the chat. I would definitely want each of you to send me email. I don't see anyone else's email there at the moment.
I'm working on it.
Jordan,
I'm working on it.
Give me a half a second. I'll put mine in there. Give me a half a second.
I just put mine in there.
How you put it in there?
In the chat. I put atftconsultant@gmail.com.
And I will send the chat to each of you, okay?
Okay.
So next Wednesday, 6 o'clock, I hope to see each of you with your new strategy or your strategy on how we can move this force together forward. How we can move together forward to
Yes.
create these
Is
strategies.
everyone in that group chat that you actually send for the phone? I have an Cobra meeting coming up Sunday, and I would actually post that if you guys are willing to jump online when I actually send that Zoom link. I greatly appreciate it. You guys' input would be very much needed. We're looking to elect a new committee, new boards, and so even say the fight for reparation is strong.
All right.
And so I
All
definitely
right.
appreciate.
Put it in the chat, and I will send the chat to everybody.
Okay,
Definitely.
before you all go, anybody, I know I'm the only one probably, but anybody that's over 80 years old and older, the University of Chicago is hosting us tomorrow at 12 noon to discuss why some people at 80 is functional and some people are not. And part of this discussion that we're having in reference to me changing the meaning, not just me, but the people that I work with, this is going to be part of our discussion at the University of Chicago tomorrow.
All right.
What time is that? Because I would like to share that information with my uncle. Wanda, that's my mom's brother I was telling you about. He's 81.
Yes, I called
Okay.
him.
I'm going to invite, if he's active, I'm going to invite him, not tomorrow, but we have an organizational relationship with each other now that we have developed, and it's 80 and over, because we have something to share, and each one of us in a particular lane or need to share with our young people. And somebody said something about the children and the parents. And
Yes,
even though I'm not a fond of Hillary Clinton said the issue is that the parent, we don't need to just talk to the children, we need to talk to the parents.
yes,
So,
we have to educate them, because he's
Right.
also looking to try to get in a computer class, because
Okay.
he said, he's trying to keep his mind going. So if you share that information with my sister-in-law, I would really appreciate that.
Okay, who am I talking to? Because I don't.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is Sheila Morris. If you give that information to Wanda, I would love to.
You. I'm gonna give it to you
Okay.
right now. My email is wordlaw, WRDLAW 422 @gmail.com.
Okay.
And you text me and I will be on it, because somebody said what I often say, I'm an activist and an agitator.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody have a blessed night. We'll see you next Wednesday, 6 o'clock.
Thank you, young man that don't want to talk to me, but you need to, because I'm the senior and I know some stuff.
All right. Thank you so much, Wanda. I love you. And
Thank you, sweetie.
thank you guys. Nice meeting all of you.
All right. Thank you. Good
Yeah,
night.
you get.
Good
I
night.
sent the thing. I sent it out, but
Okay. All
the
right.
guy said it had nothing. It's crazy.
I don't know how to cut you off. Okay.
Bye.
The President of the United States gave his State of the Union address, and it was major. The Republicans gave their response. This is going to be my response to the President's State of the Union address, because there were a lot of things said, a lot of things shouted, and a lot of things hidden, and there was deception, and we need to expose it. This is Jonathan Kahn, and this is where these messages and prophetic updates are going to come from. If you're not subscribed, to not miss them, hit subscribe. Now, I'm not going to get into the issue of the Ukraine, taxes, immigration, or the economy. With the economy, the president basically said the economy is better than ever. And if you believe that the economy is better than ever, they have medication for that. But what I'm going to focus on is what he said that most touches on good and evil. And we're going to expose deception. Ready? Let's begin with the first clip.
Like most Americans, I believe Roe v. Wade got it right.
Actually, most Americans believe there should be limits on the killing of the unborn after 3 months of pregnancy. Biden and the Democratic Party are campaigning to have it legalized up to birth, killing a baby basically up to birth. The same baby that would have been protected if it was 1 minute later can be killed 1 minute before. And babies in the womb suck their thumb way before birth. But the president and the Democratic Party, they are without question advocating that babies who suck their thumbs can be legally murdered, and should be if the mother wants to murder them.
I thank Vice President Harris for being an incredible leader defending reproductive freedom.
Reproductive freedom. Notice what's happening here. He's avoiding the A word. This is called a euphemism. He's using words and phrases to avoid saying that word that describes the killing of an unborn baby. What does that mean? It's a dead giveaway that something's being covered up. And it's a dead giveaway in this case that something is evil, or you wouldn't have to hide it. He's replacing abortion with reproductive freedom. So he doesn't have to tell you that it's about killing babies in the womb.
Defending reproductive freedom.
Notice the words reproductive freedom. It's the exact opposite. It's not reproductive, it's anti-reproductive. It's stopping reproduction and freedom. What is that? Same strategy of calling it choice, pro-choice. Any act involves choice. To murder involves choice. To rape involves choice on the part of the rapist. The word choice has nothing uniquely to do with the act of killing an unborn baby any more than any other act. So why do they use the word choice? Because they don't want to say that which it actually is, which is to kill, to murder a child in the womb. The very fact that they use words like choice or reproductive freedom is a revelation that what they're talking about is evil and has to be covered up by words to obscure the evil. And freedom? What about the child? What about the child's freedom? What about the child's life? You're destroying the child's freedom and life under the guise of freedom. Okay, watch.
My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it.
So Biden is condemning Trump for overturning Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade is the enabling of killing babies. Overturning it is to stop the enabling of killing babies and to save lives. And they estimate that overturning has saved tens of thousands of lives. But Biden is seeking to shame Trump.
He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it.
He's speaking as if it's an offense. How dare he? He brags about it, as if it's an abomination to save the lives of children. If you're saying that Donald Trump was responsible for it, then you just gave anyone who takes God seriously, who seeks to be a true Christian, a reason to go to the voting polls. Now, I don't believe we've ever seen a president of the United States so brazen in championing the murder of the innocent. How brazen can you get? And for someone who says that they're a Catholic and who claims to be a Christian to rail for the killing of the unborn, whom the Bible says are made in the image of God. Watch this.
Joining us tonight is Kate Cox, the wife and mother from Dallas. She's become pregnant again and had a fetus of a fatal condition. Her doctor told Kate that her own life and her ability to have children in the future were at risk if she didn't act.
Notice the words had a fetus, not a child. That's another thing that's used by those who are for the terminating of babies. Fetus. Now, it has always been in the past when a woman was pregnant, it said she is with child. But now the word child is removed. The word child is removed from the language so that the actual child can be removed from the womb. Fetus. Why use it? Because it's a Greek word. And so it's Greek to those who hear it. It's foreign. The idea is to make the child foreign, alien, not human. If you can dehumanize someone, if you can take away their humanity, you can take away their life. And that's exactly what the president is doing here. That's what the Democratic Party has been doing. That's what America has been doing. Fetus in Greek actually means offspring or childbirth, but you wouldn't know it because it's in Greek. It's behind the mask. Notice what else the president says. Had a fatal condition. So here the president is saying the baby had a fatal condition. So what do? You kill it. How do you solve a fatal condition? You kill the one with a fatal condition. So you can see where this is going. The act of killing unborn children is a fatal condition. So if you're against fatal conditions, you have to be against abortion. Life is a fatal condition. It leads to death. Does that mean you can kill a human being? If you can kill those with fatal conditions, then a lot of people can be killed. Watch.
Because Texas law banned her ability to act, Kate and her husband had to leave the state to get what she needed. What her family got through should have never happened as well, but it's happening to too many others.
Okay, the president said they had to leave the state. This should never have happened. Well, there are worse things in the world than having to travel. Many people travel for medical treatments across the entire country. There are things that are worse, like getting murdered in your mother's womb. That's a little worse than having to take a trip. But the president's entire case is deceptive, because most abortions have nothing to do with this. And the president isn't advocating a policy that's only about children with fatal conditions. Most pro-life laws make exceptions in the case when it involves the life of the mother. He's advocating for the ability to kill any and all children simply because the parent wants to kill them. The overwhelming majority of the 60 million plus children who have been murdered in America were murdered because their parents wanted to. And that is what the president is advocating for. And notice what else he said.
Kate and her husband had to leave the state to get what she needed.
Notice again, he won't say it. He won't say what it is. He speaks around it. She's getting something. What is she getting? A present? She's getting what she needed. Again, he won't say the A word or speak of the killing of the child. It has to be covered up with euphemisms because evil has to cover itself. Watch this.
There are state laws banning the freedom to choose, criminalizing doctors, forcing survivors of rape and incest to leave their states to get the treatment they need.
There it is again. He can't stop. Freedom to choose. To choose what? To choose to go to the circus, to bake cookies. When does English stop after the word choose without saying what you're choosing? Again, it reveals the evil of this act. And again, he won't say the word, but he'll say to get the treatment they need. The treatment they need. The definition of medical treatment is the management or care given to a patient to combat disease or disorder. So the treatment here is to combat a disease or disorder. What's the disease? What's the disorder that has to be combated by this treatment? The baby. Watch.
Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom.
No, it's not a ban on reproductive freedom. It's a ban on reproductive termination by murder. By twisting this act into a positive thing, he and they twist those who oppose murder as if they are stopping something positive. They're banning freedom. If it's a ban of the banning of life. It's a double negative, which is a positive, which every law against murder is. So let's translate it. It's a law that prevents people from killing babies.
My God, what freedom else would you take away?
What other freedom? Well, it's not a freedom, but if you want to call it that, then what are the freedoms? The freedom to rape would be one, the freedom to inflict violence, the freedom to steal. But this is the same president and party that is for the taking away even of the freedom to speak and freedom of conscience. That is, if you say words or express thoughts that are not acceptable in the realm of wokedom, you can be silenced or fined. This is the same administration that's putting old women on trial for protesting the killing of the unborn outside the clinics in which they were killed, with a possible punishment of 11 years in prison. Freedom. It's the same administration that had over 20 police, FBI, DOJ agents raid the house of a pro-life father with guns pointed to take him away in front of his wife and children. Freedom. This is the same administration and party that has sought to force doctors to mutilate children in gender transitioning against their conscience. The same party that sought to force nuns to fund the killing of children against their faith. The same president that signs a bill to force everybody to bow down before same-sex marriage against their conscience. And the same party that has passed laws in America mandating that if a parent does not go along with the hormonal or surgical transitioning of their child to appear as the opposite sex, the government will take the child away from the parent. Freedom. Let's see that again.
My God, what freedom else would you take away?
He says, my God. Mr. President, don't bring the name of God into what you're doing. Don't take the name of God in vain. Worse than that, do not take the name of God as a means of implementing an agenda that wars against the very ways and word of God, and in the words of God is an abomination. I don't know what God you can call my God when seeking the death of children, but the name Baal comes to mind, and the name Moloch. Watch.
Look, It's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power.
Okay, now he's rebuking and shaming the Supreme Court. Women have electoral political power. What does that mean? They're going to vote the justices out of office? Mr. President, do you realize that you cannot vote Supreme Court justices out of office? Watch this.
You're about to realize just how much you're right about that. Clearly, those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women.
The Supreme Court is going to find out how right it was? Having no clue about the power of women, what does that mean? Are all women for this act, for abortion? It's the dividing of people into classes and special groups pitted against each other that the left does. Mr. President, do you realize that many women are pro-life? And do you realize that the deciding vote that overturned Roe v. Wade was cast by the last justice to come on the bench at that time, and her name was Amy Barrett, and that Amy Barrett is actually a woman? That was the power of women, and she cast her vote. This is not a male or female issue. It's a human issue. Who do you think half of the children who are killed in this act are? They're female. They're little girls, little women. It's not anti-women for women to have children or to have women children. It is anti-women to kill female girl babies in the womb. Over 60 million children were killed in the womb, and half of them, over 30 million of them, were female. Forget about their political power. They're not voting because they're dead. And those women in Congress who cheered these words, none of them would be alive today if their mothers felt the same way. Their lives would have been snuffed out years ago. In fact, Mr. President, if your mother felt that way, you wouldn't be here to make this speech and rail for this act. Your life would have been killed. Watch.
If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
What was that? Let's play that again.
If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
Okay, if the American people vote an anti-life Congress, you, the president, will restore Roe versus Wade as the law of the land. Mr. President, do you realize that Roe versus Wade is not a law that you can vote or unvote in Congress? It's a Supreme Court decision. You can't vote away a Supreme Court decision. You railed against Trump and his followers for not accepting the outcome of the election and wanting to overturn it when things didn't go their way. But now you want to overturn a Supreme Court decision that didn't go your way. Watch this.
Folks, America cannot go back. I'm here tonight to show what I believe is the way forward, because I know how far we come.
America cannot go back. They have to move forward with the president. Actually, the word in Hebrew for repentance, shuv, means to go back, to return. He says, I'm here to show the way forward. Well, Mr. President, I have a question about that, about the way forward. What is the way forward for the over 60 million Americans who were killed in the practice that you are now railing must continue and expand? What about those millions of Americans, the oldest of whom would now be about 54 years old? Could be grandparents. The youngest are being killed right now. What about them? What is their way forward? They don't have one, because you and those who have advocated this saw to it that they could be killed before their birth. How do they have any less right to live than we did? Now, the president spoke about something else. Watch.
History is watching another assault on freedom. Joining us tonight is Latoya Beasley, a social worker from Birmingham, Alabama. 14 months ago, she and her husband welcomed a baby girl thanks to the miracle of IVF. She scheduled treatments to have that second child, but the Alabama Supreme Court shut down IVF treatments across the state, unleashed by a Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. She was told her dream would have to wait. What her family had got through should never have happened. unless Congress acts. It could happen again.
Okay, he said the miracle of IVF, that's in vitro fertilization. And he calls it a miracle. So it's a miracle to have fertilization, conception. But we should be able to kill that miracle. The same president who rails and rails for the ability to kill unborn children now suddenly speaks as if he and his party are champions of life. And those evil conservatives or Republicans or Christians are against life. Christians are for life. And most Christians in America do not have a problem with fertilization treatments as long as they don't violate God's word. What's the issue that he's talking about that many Christians don't fully understand? In vitro fertilization speaks of fertilizing an egg outside the womb. If it involves one egg, that's one thing. But the problem is that doctors often want to increase their chances by having several eggs getting fertilized. If life begins at conception, as it does, then what happens to those other fertilized eggs? Those eggs are then either frozen, perhaps permanently, or die frozen, or are disposed of. Then you've ended a human life. That's the problem that the president would not talk about. Again, it's about destroying human life. Now, they talked about this on The View, and one of the ladies reprimanded the other by saying it's not human life, it's not viable. Okay, first, there's no argument that it's not life. It clearly is life. There's no argument that it's not human. It's clearly human. It's nothing else. So it's human life. But the argument of, quote, viability is a totally artificial, made up, arbitrary, fraudulent argument. What it says is, if the baby can't survive on its own outside the womb, then you can kill it. What is that? If the baby would die after you ripped it out of his mother's womb, you can kill the baby. The baby is going to live unless you kill it. And so now, those who can't survive on their own, you can kill them? That's a lot of people. Babies who are born are inviable on their own. When is your child viable? When he or she gets a job. The sick, the weak, and many old people aren't viable. They can't live on their own. So now you can kill them? You can see where this is all going. It's like saying if I throw an old crippled person overboard into the water and they can't swim, they drown, then they deserved to drown anyway. There's only one point that's not arbitrary as to human life beginning, and that is, and always will be, conception. The president then goes on to something else.
And stop denying another core value of America, our diversity across American life. Banning books, it's wrong.
Okay, stop denying another core value of America. Book banning is wrong. Book banning, what is he talking about? Not about books being banned from existing, but for children in school or libraries not to be exposed to that which is inappropriate for children, which has always been part of America and parenthood. The books that parents are telling schools not to expose their children to are basically pornographic, with text and illustrations on how to perform boy-on-boy sex. Some advocate man-on-boy sex in the public school system. Now I'm going to show you a little example. We're blurring this because we don't want to reproduce it, but this is actual material being given to your children by the public school system. So the president is saying it's a core value of America to give pornographic books advocating alternate sexuality to your children? You mean George Washington or the Puritans would have been in favor of doing that? The truth is, it's actually an American core value to ban pornography from children. It has been the rule up until now. And here is the president whose people ban not pornography for children, but books like Dr. Seuss, Mark Twain, and the Bible. And whose people ban those who say marriage is between a man and a woman. That they have banned, but pornography for children, no. They've deplatformed those people, fired them, persecuted them. Good seeks to ban what is evil. Evil seeks to ban that which is good. So you have one side seeking to ban life, the other side seeking to ban murder. So which one is good? Which one is evil? You have one side seeking to ban things like speech and conscience that have always been a part of American life, like saying it's wrong to kill unborn babies or that there are two genders, male and female. You have the other side that seeks to protect its children from that which has never been inflicted upon American children before, like pornography. Which is right, which is wrong. Watch.
Instead of erasing history, let's make history.
Okay, I didn't know that pornographic man-on-boy sex was now our history. Watch.
I want to protect fundamental rights. Pass the Equality Act.
Okay, stop right there. What is that which Biden is telling the Congress to pass? The so-called Equality Act. Sounds nice. Another euphemism. What does it do? It alters the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to include gender identity, sexual orientation, and more, so that it means that every distinction of gender will be wiped out of federal law. It nullifies the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, so that Christian ministries will be forced to violate the Bible or be shut down. Christian adoption agencies will have to shut down. Christian businesses will be forced to violate the Word of God or be shut down. Possibly Christian schools and colleges. Women's sports, kiss that goodbye. And it also calls pregnancy a medical condition that must be treated, as in ending the child's life. So Christian doctors will be forced to perform this act. The transitioning and mutilation of children, it may even lead to the direct funding of the killing of babies by every American by our tax dollars. It is a danger. It's as dangerous as any law that has ever been proposed in America. That is what President Biden is advocating for in the name of freedom. Watch.
And my message to transgender Americans, I have your back. Pass the PRO Act for workers' rights.
Okay, Biden has a message for transgender people. He says, I have your back, and then he goes to say, pass the PRO Act for workers' rights. Wow, that was quick. Biden has said that transgenderism is the civil rights issue of our time. And then he quickly blurts out one sentence, I have your back, and then quickly moves on. Why? Because his pollsters told him that this is not popular with most Americans. Most Americans don't want their children to be transitioned or their children's schools to indoctrinate their children into transgenderism and hide it from the parents. So he gave it one quick sentence to keep his transgender support. But make no mistake about it, his agenda would be exactly that, to mutilate thousands of American children for the rest of their lives, just as he advocates the killing of millions of American children. You see, it's becoming dangerous to be a child in America. One last thing before I bring it home. It's not what was said, it was what was shown. I want you to see it. Look again. And look one more time. These were the president's most vocal supporters, cheering him on, all dressed in white. What was that about? Is it a cult? Is it a Joe Biden cult? Or a new Joe Biden dress code? White. Why? These were women of the Democratic Party dressed in white to appear like the women suffragettes of the early 20th century. They were wearing white, though, for one reason, because Roe versus Wade was overturned. They were wearing white to advocate for the killing of babies. It has to be their main thing because it determined their entire dress code. They didn't wear a different color because of a different issue, except there were a few Congress people, I don't know from which party, that had blue pins on for the hostages of Israel held by Hamas. I saw maybe 6 of them. But white, that was all over the House, all over the Congress, white. They changed their dress, their garments, for the sake of their passion for the right to kill babies. But women of Congress, why are you wearing white to advocate for the killing of babies? Not for purity, it's not for holiness, but for killing babies. But what does white have to do with it? I mean, the operating table could be white, but that's not because of abortion. The doctor might be wearing white or blue, that's not because of the act. Killing babies does not produce white, it produces another color. Red. It produces red as in the blood of the baby you killed. You need to change that. Truth in advertising. If you want to wear the color of the act of abortion, wear blood red, crimson, something that matches up with what you're actually advocating. Red, scarlet. And it also works because it's the color of sin in the Bible. So you get with one stone to kill 2 birds and 1 baby at the same time. The Bible says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness. Well, we're there. This is the American government, and this was an election speech. Elections do matter. The lives of multitudes depend on it, even the future of a generation. America is in trouble. The nation founded to be a city on a hill has fallen so far that it can't even distinguish good from evil and evil from good. It advocates evil as good and condemns good as evil. And that was all evident in the President's State of the Union address. What is the State of the Union? The State of the Union is in danger of judgment. God takes the blood of children very seriously. And those nations and cultures that take the blood of its children, of its innocent, will be judged. Is it possible that even what happened to our country in COVID was in some way connected to all this, down to even the exact days? I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that mystery on an upcoming message on this site. And I begin speaking of it in the book called The Josiah Manifesto. But for those on the other side, listen, it's really simple. It couldn't be more simple. To kill a baby is wrong. No matter where the baby is, outside the womb, inside the womb, no matter where. None of us, when we were vulnerable inside the womb, would have wanted anyone to have been given the go-ahead to tear our bodies apart. None of us, while sucking our thumbs in the womb, would have wanted anyone to drench us with chemicals to burn us alive. How could that ever be right? Now, a word to Biden. Mr. President, I know you gave this speech because of an upcoming election, but more important than an upcoming election is an upcoming eternity, an upcoming judgment, an eternity with God or without him, heaven or hell. And Mr. President, you're closer to eternity than most Americans, and you will stand before God. And it's a dangerous thing to stand before God with blood on your hands. We're all going to stand before God in judgment. And if we endorse the killing of children or their mutilation, then we have blood on our hands. And if we sit by and do nothing while multitudes of the innocent are slaughtered, not even to vote or pray, then we have blood on our hands. The only thing that can save America is God, and turning from our sins and turning to God. Only that, only revival can save America. We have to pray for that as never before. And we have to spread the gospel of salvation with all our hearts while we have yet time. And as for you who have had this procedure or been involved in this sin, yes, it's a grievous sin. But God is the God of mercy and love, and his arms are still open to you. I spoke of the color of sin, and the color of this particular sin as scarlet. But the Bible says also, though your sins are as scarlet, they shall become as white as snow. God will forgive you and wash you of all this, even this, and make you truly as white as snow. Don't be judged. Be saved. Come to him who said, you must be born again, and you will enter the kingdom of heaven. Come to me, he said, and I will receive you. No matter who is president, there's only one king, and he doesn't fade away as everything else does. It's Jesus. It's Yeshua. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the only hope for America, and the only hope for you and for all of us. Come to him. Come back to him. His arms are open. Now, if you haven't already, make sure that you don't miss these prophetic updates and special messages. Make sure you hit subscribe. Until next time, this is Jonathan Cahn saying, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Shalom. Hi, I'm Jonathan Cahn, and I hope you were blessed with the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Feel free to share your reactions with your comments and how you were blessed, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.